I am the Cranky Academic, and this is America. In the first episode, I ask, what the fuck, Arizona? Clearly, they need to be reminded that the U.S. is a secular pluralist nation, since there seem to be a lot of ridiculous clowns there. For those of you who have been watching Sacha Baron Cohen's Who is America, it's been cringeworthy. But this scene will be familiar. He sets up a bunch of Cletuses from Kingman, Arizona, just to be their natural xenophobic selves. So let's take a look at some of the best bits in this short clip.
Who wants to see huge economic growth here?
Of course they do. Naturally.
Who wants to see an investment of $385 million?
Damn, that is a serious amount of cash.
I'm here to tell you that Kingman has been chosen as the
Wait for it.
of a brand new state-of-the-art mosque.
Dope!
What? State-of-the-art
What?
Just the word alone scares you. To me, when I hear the word mosque, I think of terrorism.
Of course you do, Sunshine.
You bring in Muslims, we might have problems. We probably will have problems.
We'll all be moving out of this thing.
Oh, tell me about your dream mosque.
We don't want a mosque. Mosque, as soon as you said mosque, you ruined it.
You meanie. And of course it was funded by the Saudi government and the Clinton Foundation. What else could it have been funded by?
It's a building. And
It's not a building, it's a freaking terrorist mosque.
Yes, sir.
Why would we want them safe inside when we don't even want them in our town? It's not
racist.
us that's causing the violence, it's them.
Oh, no.
Oh, and the best bit's coming up right about now.
Racist. Of course not.
I am. I'm racist toward Muslims.
I
That
am.
would probably look good in a fire.
Not surprisingly, Kingman responded by saying this doesn't represent what our city is about, with the mayor of the town of about 20,000 declaring that she didn't recognize any of the people in the video, so of course they're not residents. But even though that, they're still going to take some measures to reduce racism in the town. Now, it would be easy to say that Cohen set these folks up, which he did. But the question is, was it an unfair representation of Kingman, or more broadly Arizona? Let's have a look. Well, the racism seems to have even infiltrated the hallowed halls of higher education with racist policies, not to mention the awesome moms who took their kids to mosque to mock Muslims, and the proper research that has found evidence of deep structural racism in the state at all levels of government. But the hits just keep on coming. I mean, we can't talk about racism in Arizona without tipping our hats to convicted felon Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who was pardoned by President Trump and now seems to be wanting to run for political office. But it doesn't seem to matter what group we talk about. If you're not white and you're not Christian in Arizona, you're probably not going to be enjoying yourself too much. All of the evidence suggests from top to bottom in employment, the law, education, and politics, from young to old, white Arizona seems to be anti-everyone. When I saw the Cohen bit on Kingman, I cringed, but it wasn't surprising. What did get me was when I was talking to one of my students this week, and she mentioned that a friend of hers was looking to move out of Arizona with her family because the State Board of Education was considering removing evolution from the curriculum. Of course, I had to check this one out, and it turns out that right now the state of Arizona's Board of Education is reviewing curriculum, and there could be some surprising changes on the way. Here's a report from June of 2018 that tells the story. Let's have a quick look.
The teaching of evolution in our classrooms could be taking a giant step backwards. School Superintendent Diane Douglas is apparently behind a rewriting of science standards that deletes references to evolution.
Yeah, that audio we obtained shows Superintendent Douglas believes a version of creationism should be taught in tandem with evolution.
Creationism is not
for schools
science.
Could leave it up to teachers to decide. Struthers worked with about 36 other teachers, as directed by state law, to draft new science standards for Arizona schools. Teachers say they were shocked when the words evolution and evolve were crossed out.
I can imagine they were.
The deletions apparently the work of Republican School Superintendent Diane Douglas.
Should the theory of intelligent design be taught along with the theory of evolution? Absolutely.
Oh,
That's
God.
audio of Douglas at a Republican candidate forum last November. The
You mean
so-called
before she was
theory of
elected?
Intelligent design is a rebranding of creationism.
It is not
and
a
still not
scientific theory.
science.
Douglas made it clear at the Republican Forum the teaching of evolution would take a step backward.
I had a discussion with my staff because we're currently working on science standards to make sure that this issue was addressed in the standards we're working on.
It's still not science. In reading through the articles online about this, I had to pull this quotation out because honestly, this pretty much sums up the level of idiocy prevalent in all of this stuff. Intelligent life has evolved continuously on Earth for millions of years, except among certain individuals within a geographic subset of Homo sapiens known scientifically as Politicus arizonis. But before we get too quick just to blame Politicus arizonis for the stupidity, we really have to place the blame on the voters for electing this jackass into her position. Folks, this is why it's not suitable to blame politicians for the stupid shit they get up to. You all are the ones that put them into office. If you don't like the politics, vote for better people because we get the governments that we deserve. That said, don't be so quick to move out of Arizona just yet. One of the nice checks that the U.S. still has, at least for now, is a court system where there's a strong tradition of keeping religion out of science in the U.S. primary and secondary education system. So let's take a look at the top 10 court cases that are relevant to see if we can ease our minds just a bit. Starting with, in 1968, Epperson versus Arkansas, that established in the Supreme Court that it was unconstitutional to prohibit the teaching of evolution in schools. Then in 1981, in Seagraves versus California, the court ruled that learning about evolution and science does not violate anybody's freedom of religion. Also in 1981, in McLean versus Arkansas, oh, Arkansas, you keep on giving us so much, the court found that creationism is not science, it serves no secular purpose, and so balanced treatment, like what Ms. Douglas is proposing, is actually unconstitutional. In 1987, in Edwards versus Aguilard, the courts ruled that it was unconstitutional to prohibit teaching of evolution and also teach creation in public schools because it violates the Establishment Clause. The Establishment Clause is that we separate church and state. It's pretty fundamental in our Constitution. In 1990, in Webster versus the New Lenox Schools, it said that the schools can prohibit teachers from teaching creation, so-called science, without violating free speech, because that is tantamount to religious advocacy in public institutions. In 1994, it goes on with Pelosa versus the Capistrano schools that the teacher's free exercise of religion is not violated if a school district requires evolution taught in biology. In 1997, in Freiler versus Tanga whatever parish, teachers are not allowed to read some kind of a disclaimer when teaching evolution. Two elements to this ruling. First, they can't say, hey, this is just a theory, this may not agree with your beliefs. And second, it equated intelligent design to creationism from a legal standpoint. So in 2000, it established that freedom of speech by teachers is secondary to curriculum. So there is no religious discrimination if teachers don't like teaching evolution. Then in 2005, in Selman versus Cobb County Schools, when textbooks were producing evolution warnings, it was in a violation of the Establishment Clause because it was the state sanctioning a particular religion and a particular religious view. And then finally in 2005 as well, in Kitzmiller versus Dover, it says that intelligent design cannot be made a part of the curriculum design because it's not science. Now, if that doesn't make you feel comfortable enough, in this case, the Republicans in Arizona aren't all insane. Even Republican Governor Doug Ducey says that evolution should still be taught in Arizona schools. The problem is that while there might be legal limitations on the level of stupidity that the government can get up to, no matter whether we're talking local, state, or federal level, that will hopefully prevent some of these problems from blossoming, the genuine danger in the Trump administration honestly isn't President Trump. He's a useful idiot. He himself is the ultimate red herring to distract everyone from a lot more radical and Christian conservative right and their agenda and what they want to accomplish in the U.S. So while we're tying ourselves up in knots about the Me Too movement, fake news, and clickbait that comes from the White House, we genuinely have some damaging shit accelerating happening at the local level, where people who are affected by poor wages and who have seen their life opportunities crumbling like their communities, like this community of Kingman, Arizona for the last 30 years, are tired. It's easy to point to people who are different and make them our scapegoats. And it's also easy to demonize the people who feel desperate and angry at the state of the U.S., but when there's about 12 to 15% of our population who live in extreme low-income or impoverished households, people are going to start looking for answers wherever they can find them. And let's face it, the Clinton administration gutted a lot of our public assistance programs, the G.W. Bush administration was terrible for the economy, and the Obama administration was hamstrung by the politics of gotcha. In 2016, the Democratic National Party used deception and just nasty tactics to run a candidate who had no hope of winning, and so we find ourselves in a situation where people are increasingly desperate, and in a border state like Arizona that's also filled with older religious conservatives and a bunch of anti-establishment folks, it's not surprising that we see a bunch of crazy religious racist assholes who want to put in policies that are not only unconstitutional, but damaging for everyone directly affected by them. All of that, I still say, what the fuck, Arizona? We live in a country that separates church from state by design. Those founders that a lot of the religious wackadoos like Mike Huckabee talk about explicitly want to make sure that religion was separate from government. We also live in a multicultural country. White folks are not indigenous to North America, and very few people understand that as keenly as the indigenous people of Arizona, who are still facing hassles, discrimination, and cultural as well as physical violence by their invaders. So for white Christians, the historic bringers of genocide onto this continent, to have the audacity to forget that we live in a secular and pluralist nation is just assholery at the highest level. Fuck those people, and fuck the Arizona Superintendent of Education, Diane Douglas, for wanting to push evolution out of the curriculum. Arizona needs to evolve. I am the Cranky Academic, and this is America.